Alright, hey guys, welcome to LeetCode 68, text justification. In this challenge we are given an array of strings, words, and a width, max width. We are to format the text such that each line has exactly max width characters and is fully left and right justified. And so the way I look at this is that we've really got four main stages, right? We've got some variables we need to initialize, right? Or four main key points to really follow, right? So we've got some key variables that we need to initialize. We've got a main loop which we're going to have to write, and inside this main loop we're going to need to write the logic which will justify our lines, right? And then we will finally return our justified string. And so if we get into the code of this rather quickly, first we'll start with our variables, right? So first we want our array list, right? So we're going to call this list string, and we'll call it result because this is where we'll be storing our justified string, right? So new array list, and we're going to have our index 0, which will keep track of our current position in words. Okay, next we're going to write this. So this is the main loop that's going to justify our words, right? So we have while index is less than words dot length. We are then going to run through the rest, but before then we need some more variables. So we need int line start, which is going to be mapped to index, or not mapped, but we're going to set it as index, and we're going to have int line length, which is going to be words index, but we're going to increment our index, and we're going to do length dot length, right? So the length of our word index length, right? So this will give us the length of our lines, right? Okay. So now we need to determine how many words fit into this line. Okay. So this needs to stay inside of this while loop. My apologies. So we now need another while loop. This while loop will determine how many words fit into the line. Now you're going to need to stay with me here, right? So index is less than words dot length and line length plus 1 plus words index dot length, right, is less than or equal to our maximum width. Oops, we need to do capitalization. Cool. Right. So this while loop is checking for our two conditions. If our index is less than our words dot length, and so we have to fulfill two conditions here, and there are line length plus 1 plus words index, so whatever index is, dot length, so the length of stated words is less than or equal to our maximum width, right? That way we can understand where we're justifying, right? So how many words are going to sit in each line. Cool. And then inside of this while loop we're going to do line length, and we're going to add 1 plus words index incremented by 1 dot length. Okay. So this, again, this is just parts of our logic for determining how many words are fitting into the line, right? So once we've satisfied this condition in our while loop, we can then set our line length based on whether we've satisfied these conditions, we will then add 1 plus our words index plus, or an addition to the index plus the length, or not plus the length, but the length of that index. So of the words in that index. It was pretty hard to understand, but I'm sure it's making more sense in the code, right? Okay. So now we need two more. We need to initialize two more integers, right? So we need our word count, which is going to be our index minus our line start, right? I'm sure that makes sense. And then int, so another one is going to be total spaces, which is going to be our max width minus our line length plus our word count decremented by, or take away 1, because of the way that indexing works, right? Okay. So after this now, we're now going to use our if statement. So this is now going to be the logic that's going to justify our lines, okay? So we're going to start with an if statement that states that if index is equal to words dot length or our word count is equal to 1, right? So if this is, so this part of this logic is going to start, we're starting from the back. So we're starting, if it's the last line, we're going to left justify it. So if there's one word, if it's the last line or the last word, which is what both of these account for, then we're going to now left justify that said word, right? So now we're going to use string builder, and we're going to initialize a new string builder called line, which string builder, which will take words and line start. So words at line start. Cool. Okay. And then we're going to use a for loop, which is now going to append our words to that. So, and obviously append our space in between those words to do the justification for that last, or rather to add the spaces to the end. Okay. I'm not making a lot of sense because this is a little bit more difficult, but I'm hoping that the code itself is making sense. So line start minus, plus 1. So yeah, and then we're going to do the I is less than index, and we're going to increment. That shouldn't be capsule. This should, okay, cool. And then inside of here, we're going to do line append. So this is our adding of space to the end. Dot append words of index I. Cool. So now we need to figure out our remaining spaces, right? So we're now going to we're going to declare an integer called remaining spaces equals max width, right? Take away line dot length. Cool. So now we're going to do a while loop, which will state that while remaining spaces decremented by 1 is less than 0, then we will do a line dot append with space. Cool. And at the end of this, we then want to do, so we want to add to our result dot add line to string. And so this will add this line to our string, right? Cool. Now we want our else statement, which is going to do the rest of the line's justification, right? So now we want two more integers for this, which will be called spaces between words. Yeah, spaces between words, and this one will be made up of total spaces divided by our word count minus 1. Right, and then we want another one. As I said, we want 2. We want extra spaces equals total spaces modulo, and again it's word count minus 1. Cool. And obviously extra spaces is just if there's so spaces between words is if there's an even, and our extra spaces if there's an odd will give us our remaining spaces, right? Or our remaining spaces if we have an odd number. Okay. So now we're going to use string builder, and we're gonna a new string builder which we'll call line, just like the last one. So it's going to do basically the same thing. So new string builder, words line start, just like the last one. And then in here we're going to do another for loop, exactly the same as the last one, right? So we're going to be for int I equals line start plus 1. I is less than index and I plus plus. So we're incrementing. Cool. So then we have now a new integer called spaces, and this integer spaces is going to be equal to spaces between words, and it's going to also take on the spaces between words plus our extra spaces. However, we're going to use a they're called ternary conditional operator. That's what this is called. Sorry, I had to read some paper to remember what that's called. So let me type that out for you. So in our last video, we went over this, which essentially it takes our result, and whether it is true or false, it will then evaluate to a result, one of these two results that we give it. So it'll either reevaluate to 1 or evaluate to 0 in this case, right? If extra spaces is less than 0, or sorry, more than 0, right? It will evaluate to either 1 or 0. Cool. And that's what will be added to our spaces between words. Right. So, and this is what accounts for our odd extra spaces. Cool. Okay. Hopefully that made sense. If not, please let me know in the comments. I will potentially remake this video. Okay, so now we have a while loop, which is while spaces is less than 0 or greater than 0, sorry, right? We're now going to append our space. So line.append our space, and then after that we're then going to append our line to our index at words, or rather our words at index. Don't know which one makes more sense, but yeah. Okay, and then finally we have result dot add. So now we're going to add our result to our line, or rather our line to our result. So line.toString, and in the end we'll then return result. So hopefully everything should be correct. It is a long one. We're gonna find out. Hooray, nice. We got it right. So I'll just go over everything one more time just to try and make as much sense as I can out of it. But so we first initialized some key variables, right? So our list will store each of our justified line, and our index is tracking our current position in our words, right? These are our two most important variables. Okay, next we move into our main loop. So in our main loop, we're going to calculate how many words fit within our line, and then we're going to track our line length to ensure our line does not exceed our minimum or our max width, right? And then, so that's this part here. So that's this part, sorry. And then we then write our logic. Sorry, let's say this part. We then write our logic, which is how we justify our lines. And this is the first half is our single word or last line. And then our second half of our if-else statement will be doing the rest of the spacing between the upper lines, right? And then in the end, we add it all to our string and we return our result. And then we get a nice runtime, very fast runtime, decent memory, and hopefully a block by block understanding of this coding problem. This was a long one. I appreciate it if you made it all the way to the end. If I didn't make any sense, or if there's something that doesn't make any sense here, please leave me a comment. I will try to explain it. Or if you feel that I really need to remake another video of this and try to be clearer, please let me know in the comments. Otherwise, please like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.